Hey everybody, John T. Meyer here for another episode of Answers to Questions. This is episode 44, and today we're going to talk about the recipe for remote work success. Okay, we've talked about remote work before here on the show. I believe it was episode 24 about how to do it. We talked to the Lemonly remote employees, but today I want to talk about how do you get your organization, your company ready for remote work. Maybe you've thought about it but haven't quite done it. Maybe you've just sampled but haven't really committed to it. What's the recipe for success when it comes to doing remote work? And it's a little model that we use called CPA. And it's not a certified public accountant. You don't need that. You probably need that for your business, but not for remote work. But the CPA, the first part, the C, communication, right? The biggest key to success with remote work is communication. And we're not going to talk about the tools today. This can be Zoom, Slack, email, chat, whatever you want to use, but you have to over communicate. We even use the example, at Lemonly, if you're going to the dentist, it may feel weird, but just either update your status or Slack people and say, hey, I'm going to the dentist. I'll be back at 3 o'clock, whatever it might be. And at least to build that muscle at first. Maybe eventually you don't even need to do that, but over communicate so everyone knows where you are. The worst thing you can do, you have your organization is new to remote work and the boss maybe slacks you and they just don't get a response, or they ask you a question and it just ghosts. That's when they get worried. Are they still working? Can I trust them? And the whole thing just collapses. So over communicate, pre, post, in all the different ways, however you can. Build a system for how to communicate, but make sure to do it. That system leads us to the next one, which is the P, processes. Now, the more processes we have, actually, the less requirement of communication. So in theory, remote work should work globally, around the entire world. So let's think about time zones. If you're remote in Europe and it's the morning and everyone back in the States isn't even awake yet, do you know how to do your job? Do you know what to do if you get stuck, if you have questions? Is there a system? Are there processes for how to do what you do? So really think, anytime you do a job that you know you're going to have to do again, that's something you'll do more than once, jot down what that process is. It could be a simple 3-step process. It might be an elaborate 20-step process, but always be building the playbook and the processes for how your job, your role, your company works. The better the processes, everything else goes so much more smoothly. Which leads us to the third part of the CPA, which is acceptance. So this one's important. It shouldn't be that hard or take that long, but it is critical to a recipe for success with remote work, is we just have to accept that we're gonna do it. We're gonna have to accept that it's okay and accept that it's a good thing. We use remote work, we think of remote work at Lemonly, even for the people here in the HQ, right? So if they have a task that they're head down on and they just wanna wake up and get right to work, they can work from home. If Billy's got a soccer game and they need to leave early to do the soccer game, they can make up the time later. So we think of remote work as just work wherever, whenever, as long as you get your stuff done. But as soon as I start to question or wonder where that person is going when they leave early, are they actually getting work done, the whole system falls apart. You need to have acceptance that remote work works, and so that you've hired the right people, they're in the right jobs, you communicate and have the processes. Once everyone is accepted, this is the new policy and the new way, then you're off to success. So that's the CPA, the recipe for remote work success. Now, hopefully all parts of the organization can follow this, but especially for managers and leaders who are thinking about adopting remote work. So what if you're thinking, I want to work remote, but my organization or company hasn't really embraced it? My tip here is use the E word, experiment. Go to your boss, go to your manager and say, could I just try to work remote, right? Could I just try it? Maybe the first Thursday of every month or Friday afternoons. And then my tip to you is go home, work your butt off, get a lot of work done, be really efficient, be super effective, and prove to your team and your company and your manager that remote work works, right? Hopefully, there are no bosses or managers out there that say, you know what, I want you to be here and do less work, right? So prove that you can do it and that you can do it effectively, and that experiment will start to lead toward the greater acceptance. We had to do that at Lemonly, actually. Some people worked remotely, others kind of were curious about it, but had never really tried it. So what did? We just shut the office down. We did an experiment for the 4 Fridays in the month of January and said, you have to work remotely. What was great is that built empathy for our remote employees. Everyone got to experience it, kind of test the muscle a little bit. And then that later led to larger adoption. So if you adopt the CPA model, that's the recipe for success for remote work. You have to embrace a future where remote work is present and a priority. With the best talent anywhere and everywhere in the world, you can build the best team, and the best team wins.